My name is Marjorie Ellen, and I'm 69 years old. The evening when everything shattered started just like any other Christmas Eve gathering my family had ever put together. I showed up at my son Liam's place carrying a tin full of ginger cookies, the very recipe his dad had adored. As soon as I crossed the threshold, the cozy heat from the crowd and the rattle of plates enveloped me. Yet, it didn't soothe me the way it once did. There was a tension hanging in the atmosphere. Like a rubber band stretched to its limit, Liam greeted me right at the entrance. His grin was modest, courteous, rehearsed. It hadn't always been that way. He used to wrap me in a bear hug that practically hoisted me off my feet. That night, his embrace was fleeting, barely grazing my arms. "Mom, you got here?" he murmured, his tone softer than normal. "I always do," I replied. Before I could add anything else, Tessa materialized behind him. My daughter-in-law was dressed in a striking red gown that seemed tailor-made to dominate the space, and she made no effort to conceal her appraising glance from my head down to my toes. She placed a hand on Liam's wrist and announced, "The group's all set," not waiting on me. I caught the implication right away. We settled into our spots at the expansive dining table. Family members packed the area, their boisterous talk mingling with the scrape of silverware. I sensed glances darting my way before quickly averting, as though everyone was preparing for an unspoken revelation. Midway through the meal, Tessa stood up. She clinked her wineglass with a fork, the sharp ping cutting through the din like a knife. Chatter ceased, faces turned upward. Liam tensed up. Tessa beamed with a victorious glow. "I have something to share," she declared. "Your son is transferring the house over to me. You won't get a thing." The room exploded into chaos. Cheers erupted from the opposite side of the table. A relative let out a whistle. Applause rang out, vigorous enough to rattle the dishes. A handful of expressions wavered, uncertain if jubilation or shock was the right response. The uproar surrounded me like a shoddily stitched drape voice. Haphazard, phony. I placed my fork down with care. "Son," I said, my words steady. "Should I share it, or will you?" Liam went rigid. His complexion paled. His utensil tumbled from his grasp, clanging sharply against his plate. Tessa's grin faltered, then set like concrete. The clamor in the space vanished. The cheers faded away. A cold draft seemed to sweep across the lengthy table, as if a door had been flung open to the winter night. Silence reigned. Liam avoided my gaze. Tessa remained statue still. I sat there, hands clasped, allowing the quiet to seep into every nook of the home, aware that it wouldn't last. The hush following Tessa's revelation lingered, with me well beyond the end of the meal. As I drove back to my residence in Eastmoreland that evening, it weighed heavier than the frosty breeze outside. My place was serene, the sort of peace that had once consoled me after my husband's passing. When Liam was just 16, I'd grown accustomed to filling that void back then with employment, tending the garden, and the simple daily rituals that anchored me. Every dawn, I still ventured out to inspect the dahlias by the rear fence. I spoke to them like others might converse with pets. "You seem parched today," I'd whisper, wiping away the icy dew from their petals. It was a minor ritual, but it served as a reminder that I could still care for something alive. Liam had once assisted me in the yard. He'd crouch next to me, soil caking his palms, chuckling as dirt smeared his face. "Mom, check it out. War paint," he'd declare, beaming with childish pride. Those days, he'd rush home from classes just to perch at the kitchen counter and spill his thoughts, pals, worries, aspirations. He was kind-hearted. He belonged to me. That version of him started to slip away the year he crossed paths with Tessa. The shifts were subtle at first. Returned phone calls, briefer drop-ins. A fresh inflection in his speech whenever he'd say, "Tessa believes we ought to." He ceased sharing his own opinions, merely echoing hers. One night, I inquired, "Will you join me for Sunday supper?" He paused. "Tessa's already scheduled something. Week after week." I pressed, striving to keep my composure even. "She claims routines provide her with stability," he muttered, as if reciting from a script. On another occasion, when we dined out for lunch, I moved to grab the bill. Tessa's words sliced across the table. "We manage our money independently these days. It maintains clarity." Clarity for whom? She left that unsaid. Gradually, Liam gravitated toward her end of the table. Her perspective in every discussion. Her stance on decisions that had once been shared between us. The extended family fell in line. Regarding me as an outsider, who should feel thankful for any inclusion. And that's how the erosion of my bond with my child unfolded, not with a dramatic rift, but through countless incremental retreats. The day after Christmas, I wandered my home like a curator in a personal exhibit I'd curated over decades. Each groan of the floor held a memory. Every scuffed edge bore the imprint of solitary decisions. I'd purchased this property when Liam was 8. His father had departed this world scarcely 6 months prior, and I was still mastering how to exist without a partner at my side. I juggled dual occupations, then baking shifts during the day, office cleaning at night. There were stretches where sleep eluded me beyond for hours. I maintained a tiny ledger in my work apron, jotting the mortgage balance post each installment. Witnessing those figures dwindle fueled my resolve. One twilight, post a grueling double, I discovered Liam on the veranda with a brush in hand. He'd hauled out a partially used can of azure paint from the storage shed. "I aim to surprise you," he explained, his cheeks streaked with hue. The porch appeared worn out. I burst into genuine laughter, the type that unlocked a hidden compartment within. "It looks flawless," I assured him. He glowed. "We can complete it as a team." And so we did. Evening upon evening, our fingers grazing, our legs swinging from the ledge during breaks. He chattered about academics, celestial bodies, his dream of inventing gadgets. I vowed that this veranda would forever serve as his refuge. Years on, upon settling the last mortgage dues, I reclined on that same spot and permitted tears to flow, not from sorrow, but from triumph. I'd forged something enduring, from sheer grit and a child's faith in my capabilities. Now, that very abode was the target of their ambitions. The structure that had shielded us. The cooking area where Liam mastered flipping. The veranda we'd coated together. It had morphed into a trophy in another's scheme. As I traced my fingers along the railing, the timber felt chillier than ever, as though it sensed its impending seizure by hands that had never toiled for it. That realization honed the treachery sharper than any utterance at the feast. It unfolded in the crisp days of early fall, well prior to the holiday upheaval. Liam appeared on my doorstep one Sunday afternoon, clutching a sheaf of documents beneath his arm. He seemed anxious, fidgeting like he did as a youngster after shattering a vase. "Mom, we just need a swift signature," he blurted upon my opening the door. "Standard procedure. Tessa mentioned it'll aid with some revisions." "Revisions to what?" I probed. Before he could respond, Tessa emerged at his flank. She extended the bundle with a forced, radiant expression. "It's straightforward. Just endorse the bottom of each sheet. It'll simplify matters for all. I transported the papers to the kitchen surface. The instant I began perusing, a constriction gripped my torso. Phrases granting power of attorney. Clauses for asset handover. Whole portions vacant, primed for later completion. This bore no resemblance to routine. "Tessa," I inquired composedly, "why the empty spaces on legal docs?" She chuckled abruptly. "That's normal. The firm completes them. No reputable firm omits details," I countered, maintaining civility. Liam took a seat opposite. "Mom, please. It's okay." We verified. I gazed at him intently. His eyes flicked to Tessa, seeking endorsement. "I'd prefer to review these overnight," I stated. To grasp them fully, Tessa's beam dimmed slightly. "It doesn't demand comprehension. It demands faith." I captured images of every leaf methodically, then returned the pile to her. "I won't endorse today." A shadow of irritation crossed her features, followed by a frostier glint. She didn't debate. She merely pivoted to Liam and uttered tersely, "Time to leave." And as they departed, I recognized this issue wouldn't dissolve. I delivered the snapshots of the forms to a modest legal firm close to Pioneer Square. The lawyer, Ms. Hardwick, was a 50-something with piercing vision that overlooked nothing. She arrayed the prints on her workspace and examined them wordlessly. After the initial sheet, her forehead creased. By the third, she lowered them and met my eyes. "Who provided these?" she queried. "My son and his spouse," I responded softly. She indicated the authority grant with her stylus. "This isn't standard. It confers your daughter-in-law control over your assets." I felt my respiration stall. "Over my home, and beyond." She directed to another image. These gaps were intentional. Post-signature, they could shift complete title to her. "Not your son." I clutched the seat's arm. Liam claimed it was for modifications. Ms. Hardwick shook her head. "This is no modification. It's a full conveyance of title and obligations. If debts arise, she'd evade liability, you wouldn't." The chamber seemed to sway briefly. She interlaced her fingers. "Refrain from signing any further offerings." "Not a single clause," she added gently. "I'm obligated to note this could constitute elder financial abuse. Based on motive." The term abuse struck like a boulder. I inclined my head. "So it was deliberate." Her tone mellowed. "It wasn't coincidental, Ms. Allen." I exited into the brisk October gusts. The reality burdening my core. Suspecting disloyalty was one matter. Legal validation was another. It transpired on a routine Tuesday dusk. I'd motored to Liam and Tessa's to deliver a carton of vintage photos I figured Liam might cherish. I rapped twice. Silence. The entry light glowed. So I veered to the lateral walkway, intending to deposit the box near the rear entrance. Before arriving, voices wafted from a slightly ajar pane. Tessa's timbre was edged, taut. "My kin are sinking, Liam. You realize if we don't claim the property now, we'll mirror their fate." Liam replied faintly, a cadence I hadn't heard since his youth, admitting a fault. "I require additional time." "This seems off." "It only seems off because you're viewing it through her lens," Tessa retorted. "Your mom has held that place for nearly 4 decades. She managed." A lull ensued. Footsteps echoed. Tessa pressed on. "Demonstrate your commitment. Secure the house." Liam's exhale fractured. "I can't inflict this on her." "You're not inflicting harm," she insisted, words tumbling rapidly. You're aiding us. She's elderly. She adjust. That phrase struck me like a fist. Elderly. Adjust as if my existence were a fixture to accommodate her needs. Liam's pitch escalated, quivering. You don't get it. That home is her entire world. She nurtured me there. She exhausted herself to retain it. And I'm exhausting myself to forge our tomorrow. Tessa countered. Your mother can reside anywhere. My folks lack even a steady roof. I refuse that path. I crave assurance, Liam. A seat grated against the tiles. Liam whispered, I can't proceed. Tessa's retort was icy. Then you're prioritizing her over our union. My grip trembled on the carton. I retreated soundlessly, departing before detection. The facts crystallized. Liam wasn't the adversary, but he was crumbling beneath another's dread. And dread, I comprehended, could drive decent folks to irredeemable acts. Following the overheard dispute, I navigated home with fists tight on the wheel. The photo box rested undisturbed beside me. I'd abandon it on their stoop. But the overheard burden clung, compressing my chest like an emerging fracture. That evening, I unlocked the compartment housing all house-related paper, mortgage slips, the concluding loan notice from yesteryears, tax logs. I scattered them over the dining surface. My limbs quivered, yet my thoughts were lucid. I convinced myself this was for safeguarding my creation, not dismantling my son's existence. Come morning, I outputted financial records from the prior buy. Then, I accessed the audio clip I'd captured outside their casement on my device. I replayed it once, hushed, verifying each syllable. Upon conclusion, I archived it to a portable drive and slipped it into an envelope. By week's close, the packet swelled beyond anticipation. Captures of Tessa's texts too. Liam. Duplicates of the dubious forms. They'd urged me to authorize my proprietorship chronicle, penned manually across multiple pages, commencing the acquisition year and culminating on payoff day. One midday, Liam rang. Mom, may we visit this eve? Tessa wishes to discuss the docs anew. I stabilized my speech. Not this evening. I'm occupied, he faltered. Occupied with what? Matters of importance. Silence ensued. I sensed he detected the alteration, even sans comprehension. I stowed the envelope in the dresser's lowest slot, beneath aged blankets and seasonal wraps. I secured it doubly. I harbored no intent for humiliation or vengeance. I aimed for preparedness. And inwardly, I foresaw the holiday as their next gambit. The quiet post. Tessa's declaration densified until the assembly seemed collectively breathless. Aunt Rowena inclined toward her spouse, murmuring, She actually voiced that, he whispered in return. Hold on. Tessa elevated her jaw, compelling a luminous expression. This is meant for festivity, she uttered, her vocals unsteady. No toasts arose. I delved into my bag and positioned the envelope atop the table. I refrained from unveiling it, permitting its mere presence to loom as a subtle menace. Liam's timbre fractured. Mom, why bring that? You comprehend why, I rejoined. Tessa eyed the packet. What's inside? Some dossier. Her beam trembled. It's data, I articulated gently. Pertaining to all present. Akin leaned in. What sort? Liam's respiration grew ragged. Mom, not here. Tessa realigned, striving for command. Nothing to disclose. She's exaggerating. But her inflection faltered. I preserved equilibrium. You proclaimed I'd inherit not. Ere this clan rejoices, They merit insight into the implications. Seats shuffled. An expletive escaped. Tessa seized Liam's limb. Halt her. He remained immobile. I wrapped the packet lightly. The faint tap pierced the chamber, and the EV commenced its pivot. I parted the envelope. The rustle of sheets against the casing was subdued, yet in that muted space, it echoed like a storm's onset. I flattened the premiere document before me. My moniker etched crisply above. Below, a scrawl mimicking mine, yet imperfect. Aunt Rowena narrowed her gaze. Marjorie, that's not your script. Tessa surged ahead. It's preliminary. Merely preliminary. Calm down. All? I advanced to the subsequent. Authority verbiage. Ownership shift provisions. Segments amended in an unfamiliar hand. Whispers circulated. Uncle Frank inclined nearer. Heavens, who inscribed these? Tessa's facade crumbled. Cease examining. They're incomplete. Flipped onward and activated the compact. Recorder nestled within. Liam's utterance permeated the area, subdued, wavering. I don't wish to wound my mom. Tessa's ensued acute, frigid. She's aged. She coped. Acquire the house. Liam's lids clenched. Tessa blanched. Deactivate that. She snarled. No, I affirmed plainly. The tape persisted. Affirm your devotion. Opt for her. Forfeit me. A gasp arose. A murmur of Lord. Tessa pounded the surface. You spied on us. You devious, scheming. Liam clasped her arm. Don't address her thus. She wrenched free. You vowed you'd manage it. I was terrified. Liam's words splintered. You menaced departure. You claimed our kin would disintegrate sans the house. I was lost. You deceived me. Tessa hurled, tears surging. You deceived us both. The sole deceit, I interjected softly, was the one you anticipated I'd ratify? Tessa whirled toward me. Gaze aflame. You've demolished all I negated. No, Tessa, I've shielded my soul remnant. The gathering splintered. Kin debated, aligning. A relative rose. This is inexcusable. Counter-arguments flew. Turmoil swelled like tempests. Liam's frame slumped. He aged a decade instantaneously. Mom, apologies. I ought to have intervened. Tessa thrust her seat rearward. I'm departing. She snatched her overcoat, timbre fracturing. And I shan't return to a clan branding me felon. She bolted. The portal crashed, jostling mantle decor. Liam lingered, petrified, fixated on his palms. I compiled my documents leisurely, restoring them to the packet. No gloating, no rebuke. I merely secured it in my satchel and arose. I'm heading home, I declared. None impeded. The domicile hummed with ire, bewilderment, apprehension. All exposed at last. Stepping into the brisk nocturnal breeze, I sensed verity solidify within a firmness, not triumph, not reprisal, merely lucidity. And lucidity, I discerned, sufficed. 2 days post-holiday, I summoned a locksmith for new bolts. He posed no inquiries, and I volunteered none. Upon completion, I sealed the entrance and experienced an internal equilibrium absent for ages. The subsequent dawn, I revised my testament opposite the attorney who'd cautioned me beforehand. You're choosing wisely, she remarked. I assented. Not from wrath, from enlightenment. Liam visited a week hence. He loitered on the veranda, eyes bloodshot, sans jacket. I've begun therapy, he disclosed. To unravel why I permitted this escalation, I trust it aids. I responded. He gulped. Tessa's at her siblings. Unsure of our path. You'll resolve it, I offered. Authentically, he concurred, burden evident. Yet his inflection softened as he appended, I desire more visits. If permitted, I widened the portal. My routines grew tranquilly serene. Dawn strolls via Laurelhurst ceramic sessions anonymous to my past. Dusks in a domicile reclaimed as mine. I'd not forfeited a kin. I'd shed a mirage. If you're watching this video, please give it a like. Subscribe to Instant Revenge, and share in the comments where you're hearing this story from. I'd love to know how far it's traveled.